We hear about success so often in our lives, and we really don't talk about the path to success and what it really means to strive to success. So, today, you all, we are in for a treat to really unpack what it means to reach our full potential and get to that level of success that's actually going to feel well too. Because that's important. You know me, I'm your host, attorney Jamila Moore, the entrepreneur's attorney and business strategist, where I help you start, structure, and grow your business while legally protecting your brand, your profits, and your business. Today, I really want to talk about it, but I feel like I'm not going to do it justice. But I'm gonna give you a little tidbit of who we have here on this platform today. Dr. Tracy G. Crump. G Crump, and I want you to get that right because it's trademarked. We're going to talk about that later. We're going to talk about that later because y'all know about that, right? She's an award-winning thought leader and educator that's devoted her life to helping others reach their potential and succeed in their endeavors. Right, with more than 30 years of experience at the collegiate level, higher education, and as a staff member, she knows what it takes to make it in an evolving world. And if we're doing nothing right now, we're evolving. Finally, she is an esteemed educator, attorney. Y'all, if you go on LinkedIn, hold on. If you go on LinkedIn, you will go and see the letters behind the name to know that I'm not even gonna do no more talking. She's not new to this. She's true to this. Tracy, you talk to the people.
Yes, thank you so much, Attorney Jamila. Listen, I am Tracy G. Crump. I am the founder and chief education officer at Tracy Crump Enterprises, LLC, where I help students and educators and authors clarify their goals and resources, sharpen their skills, and empower them to strive for success. And I am here today to unpack all things success with you. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, we're unpacking all. Let's define success because everybody got a different definition. What do you define as success?
Yeah. So for me, success depends on where I currently am in my life, where I see myself, the goals that I am currently striving for. So I don't see success as a single destination, right?
Hmm.
Instead, I view it as achieving a series of milestones or benchmarks. I don't necessarily view success as the journey's end, it's the beginning of the next journey. When we are able to achieve our goals, it's one of the first signs that we need to develop additional goals and make additional strategic plans to achieve those goals. So it's crucially important for us to strive for success in our personal and our professional lives. And so a lot of times folks are focused on the professional, but when we think about relationships, right, and the human experience, they are a series of relationships that need to be nurtured. Anything that you want to grow, you have to feed it, you have to water it, you have to care for it. So it's important for us to strive for success in both our personal and professional lives.
Wow, I think you said a mouthful that I hope everyone really latch on to because so many times we get success wrong because we made it a destination.
Mhm.
You've invited us to think differently about success and to make it a milestone and a benchmark that we will be continuously revisiting. There is something that's mentioned in the world, talked about the Kaizen model, where you go around and you visit it again and again and again. And so we will be striving to different levels of success again and again and again. Now, Tracy, I got a few letters behind my name.
Yes, you do, Attorney Moore.
And, I done cried. I done prayed. And people, Jam got it. The success is there. But talk to me about some pivotal moments as you were striving to success. And I'll share mine after yours because look, let me just pause now before I start crying again.
Listen, cried and prayed and prayed and cried and cried and prayed and prayed and cried, right? Still crying and praying all the way, but knowing who I am and whose I am, right? Always pushing through it. If I was to think about my life's trajectory, I can see several areas where there was something that happened that shook me to my core. Just to give a little bit of background, so I had my daughter at a very young age. So I was a single mom trying to navigate college as a first generation student, college student. I didn't have any form of academic support that I could lean on. I was someone who was working at a minimum wage job, and I may be telling my age a little bit here, but right, minimum wage back then was $5 or $5.25, right?
Okay,
So, so trying to navigate that and seeing all of the things that I was able to see in my communities, I was able to see that life wasn't a straight path for many people. I got a glimpse of the impact of poverty on individuals and on families and on community, and how systems and structures played a role in where people were. Um, and what I wanted to better understand was why we as a community were put in that particular situation. So when we talk about a personal experience or a pivotal experience where I realized the importance of striving for success, I would put a pin right there. I was surrounded by loving friends and family, but we didn't have a lot, right? And instead of saying, okay, well, this is what it is, I started to craft my own vision of what success should be. And for me, it led to me seeking out alternative resources and services to assist not only myself, but my friends, my family, and my community. So it helped me to believe that at that time, success was something that I could feel. Success was something that I could reach and touch, something that would allow me to have a family that was well cared for, that was safe, and we had the ability to transcend our station in life. So at that moment, having that thought process, it began to allow me to give me myself permission to navigate these early experiences in a way that I didn't think of before, because I didn't necessarily have like a mentor or a role model to say, hey, this is what you need to do, if that makes sense.
I rarely get speechless, Dr. T. And one of the things you said so much, but one of the things I really want to lean into, because you talked about our communities, right? I'm a first generation college student, attorney, entrepreneur legally. Put that one out there. Some people started some businesses. And it was the fact that I was at a station, and like you, I created a vision. And that vision allowed me to muster up the courage and the stamina to get on the train to get to the next station.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can only imagine what type of work that you're doing when you go in and you're working and you're training folks on how to really see their station,
Mm-hmm.
get out of that station, and then move to the next one, because it goes back to your first point where you said, hey, we are going from milestone to milestone, benchmark to benchmark. So I don't know about everyone else, but I know there's this enlightening that's happening right now as we're thinking about striving to say, I see it bubbling out. Let it come out.
Yeah, you know what? For me, it's a conscious effort always. Like every day I wake up with a conscious plan to ensure that I'm honing my persistence. Right. I've been in this game 30 years, over 30 years. Every day I still have to hone my persistence, my commitment, reinvigorate my motivation, be emotionally mature, right? We are in some spaces, and if I can be real, we are in spaces where not everyone is rooting for you all the time. And so you have to build that grit muscle, that resilience muscle, so that you can recognize what your emotions are impacted by and how you respond, so you can respond accordingly. So yes, I firmly believe that not only folks who come from similar backgrounds as us, but everyone has within them the ability to hone these muscles, specifically if they're trying to achieve a certain level of their vision of success.
Yeah, no, that's so good when you think about like building the muscle in which you don't use, you lose. And
Mm-hmm.
so if we're not, exercising grit, if we're not exercising resilience, we're losing it. And some of us may be at a place where we're supposed to be going forward, where when we don't exercise that muscle, we start going backwards.
Yes.
We get on the train and start going the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's important for us to kind of think through that and illuminate that as well, as we're striving to success. And so, another thing that's important for us to really unpack here is the idea of self motivation.
Yeah. So, oftentimes we are in spaces where we're in our heads and we have a goal, we have a charge. In some cases, we can be voluntold. We are the only people in those instances that can motivate ourselves. And so when I think about self-motivation, I always have to dig deep to my mission, my vision, and my values, my personal mission, vision, and values, because nothing is going to motivate me more than being true to myself, than being the authentic Tracy G. Crump. So for people who are seeking out this idea, this concept of self-motivation, always lean on what you know, lean on your morals, lean on your values, because right, those don't fundamentally shift, right? They can be altered somewhat, but fundamentally you are who you are. And if anyone asked me to bet on anyone, I would bet on myself. So it comes from within, I believe.
If y'all got nothing else from today, if anyone asks me to bet on anything, I'm going to bet on myself.
Mhm.
So if you are not at a place where you're betting on yourself, I'm going to push you to go back to your MVV, mission, vision, and values. And so, Dr. T, let's lean in right there because there may be someone who's saying, I never thought about having a mission for my life.
Mhm.
I never, sometimes I say I want to do things, but what's this vision and value that you talk about?
Mhm. So when I think about my values, fundamentally, who do I want to be? Of course, for me, I lean back on how I was raised as a child, what I fundamentally believe the relationships between people should look like and feel like. I have as one of my core values, when I have a conversation with someone, I want to ensure that all of us, right, depending on how many folks there are in the room, leave with our heads and our hearts intact, right? And that we are in a space where we can thrive. So when I say your fundamental core values, that's something that without fail, I require. And so we do need to have requirements for ourselves too. Sometimes we find ourselves, specifically in right today's climate, we find ourselves trying to right tiptoe around and be amenable to everyone. Well, we're not for everyone, right? Everyone is not your person. So when you are true to like your core values, your core beliefs, ideologies, philosophies, whatever you want to call them, right? You can't go wrong. When we talk about this inner self or inner being, that is something we can always rely on. As far as my mission and my vision, so my mission and vision specifically speak to the goals that I'm trying to achieve at that time and how I plan to achieve those goals at that time. So I'm looking at the outcomes, objectives, or results, but then I am someone who likes to break things into smaller pieces because I do not like huge projects. So I like to look at, okay, what step do I need to meet? What milestone do I need to achieve? What benchmark do I need to get to in order to get to this larger goal? So when I talk about my mission and my vision, that's exactly what I'm reaching towards.
No, that's really good. And I think, folks will be helped by just having that enlightenment and probably just pausing to spend some time to really think through like what are my core beliefs? What are my core philosophies? What are my self requirements? What am I driving towards now? because that is part of striving to success and being able to get to that place where even if you may not hit that specific milestone, you got there, you got to the place where you understand why and
Mm-hmm.
you're okay with it because you're a better version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And I love that you said that because we often have to have a plan. And my proprietary framework that I use, right, it allows you to not only hone in on what it is that you're trying to achieve, so what that goal is, you also think about your capacity, right? What resources do I have? What resources do I need? And of those resources that I need, what resources do I have to get? And how do I get them? And then once you figure out your capacity, you need to think about what's motivating you to do the thing. Are you motivated by something extrinsic or external to yourself or something intrinsic, right? And then always seeking out opportunities to be skill building focused, right? To engage in professional development, to engage in continuous improvement, because we are growing beings and we need to feed and nurture ourselves as well. So having kind of that mindset that, hey, I need to check in with myself and I need to constantly seek out, right, these avenues for improving myself. It keeps us in a fluid state and it doesn't allow us to be stagnant.
you got me out here breathing again because she's just not going to keep poking the bear and have me not address it. So when you get to a certain level of success, it is actually success malpractice not to protect you, your business, and your proprietary, you can call it information, your proprietary frameworks, your proprietary whatever. And one of the things you just said on one of the things that I do with my proprietary framework, right? So that's something that you use that is an asset that came out of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I come into play when you have these assets that come out of your mind. It is success malpractice if you do not protect it in the right way through copyrights, trademarks, and contracts. The three go hand in hand when you are producing things, when you are creating things. And I'm going to say this until the hills come home because I have a moral obligation to make sure that I am not leaving you behind, because our counterparts know that this is the thing that they do to protect themselves, to protect their proprietary frameworks, information, and the wealth that comes from their head. The
And
Kardashians.
and they've been doing it for generations, right? so,
Yes.
so when we think about our counterparts, they have kind of laid out the blueprint, right? They've been playing this game for a long time. It's only been recently in the last several decades that many of us, right, many of us regular folks who didn't have like affluent backgrounds were able to find a space and opportunity to say, hey, you know what, I can see myself doing that, right? I can see myself being that. So this protection, listen, as I sit here today, if something comes out my mouth, I'm quickly, do I need a trademark? So yes, it's so important for us to not only protect our intellectual property for ourselves, but right, in many cases, many of us are legacy builders. We're barrier breakers, right? We want to pass down intergenerational wealth, right? I want things that I'm doing today to assist my great, great, great grandchildren, right, in later years. So, yes, protecting ourselves is so important.
And you know, the thing that I love is like it's a part of striving to success. And when we get to a certain level, we have to get a certain level of information to help us really catapult what it is that we've been given, what we've been entrusted with as it relates to us growing and creating that new milestone and creating that new benchmark and being able to be at a place where we are actually leaving something behind and building legacy. And so when you talk to someone who may just be starting out and saying to themselves, man, I listened to the Dr. Tracy G. Crump, and I listened to that attorney girl, Jamila Moore. And I'm going to really sit down and start to craft out some milestones. What are the three things you would kind of talk them through?
So, first and foremost, I always like to do an internal audit, right? When I am approaching anything, I do that internal audit. And again, I lean on my framework. Like, why do I want to do this thing? What is the benefit? Who will it help? I am a servant leader, and I've been a servant leader since the day I was born. And so I not only want to, right, engage in thought leadership and share what I have had the opportunity to have poured into me, but I also want to ensure that when I share this information that I'm serving with value, right? That I am presenting information for folks that will be valuable to them. And so if it's valuable to them, the first thing I want to do is make sure that I am showing up in my authentic form. So I do an internal audit to find out why I am doing this. So that would be the first thing that I would suggest that folks do. Another recommendation would be to figure out, and this is a skills assessment, figure out what skills, what expertise, what experience you have or you need in order to deliver this value. Because it's really challenging to pour into someone when you don't have all the tools that you need, right? And then the third thing is this idea of trusting yourself. A lot of folks have certain challenges with being confident that they are the person to engage in these conversations, right? But if you did one and two, right, internal audit and your skills audit, you have demonstrable evidence in front of you explaining why you are the expert, right? Why you are the perfect person at this time in this space to present this information. So, right, doing those three things, if I only give you three, doing those three things would set a strong foundation for you.
I'm pretty sure everyone's like, you can give us as much as you want. Because it's just so good and it's so rich. And one of the things that you really hit on is trusting yourself and having confidence. And I always try and tell people, especially dealing with newer entrepreneurs, have the courage until you have the confidence.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good.
Courage will take you a long way.
Yes.
And you would be surprised what will happen after you watch yourself after being consistent at courage.
Yes.
Consistent at courage builds competence.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And consistency is key. So many times I speak to, so I counsel young folks, right? College students and certain circles, high school students, and then authors. And so you're like, oh, these are right different populations. Well, they have some very similar challenges. Oftentimes, people don't realize what consistency means, right? Well, I did it for 3 days, or I did it 6 times, right? There is no end number to consistency. You do it until it works, right? You tweak things, you change things, you assess, you evaluate, but right, show up. That is what we're talking about when we talk about consistency, being present and showing up, doing the thing, learning from the challenges, right? Reevaluating, retooling, gathering those resources that you may not have had the first time, tweaking it a little bit, right? And trying again, dust it off and show up.
No, that's good. And when y'all see that quote rolling around, you know where I got it from. Consistency is doing it until it works.
Yes.
Point blank and period. Point blank and period. Such a great gem there. One of the things that we kind of hit on earlier is that we pray, we cry, we pray, we cry, we pray, we cry. And the reality is there's going to be a moment where it might knock you down.
Mm.
It might knock you down. Dr. T, how did you get back up when you got knocked down?
So as I said before, I love, well, I didn't say it before. So I am a researcher at heart, right? I love to dig into the weeds to find out why it didn't work. Because before I do anything, I've already laid out my strategic plan. I conducted my SWOT analysis, right? I know the strengths and the weaknesses, the opportunities and the threats, right? So I've done the evaluation, gathered the resources that I need. So if it doesn't work, right, it hurts, it stings. I give myself grace. That's the first thing. Oh, in my spirit. Okay. I give myself grace first because no person is perfect. And I don't strive to be perfect. I strive to be the best version of myself. After I give myself grace and lick my little wounds, I start to dig into the data. Like, why didn't it work? What part didn't work? Did everything not work? Were there some parts that were good? Some parts that need right a little support? And then I start to try to find those resources and tools that I need to shore up the weaknesses. So I don't throw away the whole project or the whole thing that I'm trying to accomplish. But what I do is I look for the weaknesses and then I try to help nurture those weaknesses. When I talk about relationships and nurture, this isn't just between folks. It could be between you and your projects, you and your goals, you and right your dreams and aspirations. Sometimes it needs a little shoring up. So when I'm knocked down, I often go back and I do my debrief just as if I was having a board meeting and right we were running a multi fortune 10 company, right? I would sit there and I would look and say, hey, what didn't work? What do we need to do? So, I mean, that's how I handle everything in my life, whether it is business, personal, like my children, like whatever it is. That's how I do it.
That's so rich when we think about that as it relates to the different types of relationships. Because I know a light bulb just went off where we oftentimes think about relationships externally. And then sometimes we do think about our internal relationship, but you just hit on a major key. We have relationships with projects, we have relationships, with timelines.
Hmm.
We create these connections with these different things in our lives. And we have to, one, if we prepare better, if a problem arises, it won't take us to a place of extreme disappointment where we can't get back up.
Yeah, definitely. Problems are going to arise. Like I build in space and opportunity for problems to arise. I am someone who is very rigid. I rise every morning very early, 4:30 a.m. I go to bed every night, 9 o'clock p.m. Like there is no, that's not it's non-negotiable. Like we can't shift it around or anything like that. So routine for me is a help. But what also helps by me rising early, I'm up earlier than the rest of my family. So it gives me love them, right? Let's put that out there in the world. Love my family. But it gives me an opportunity to right pray and to journal and to right assess my day. Um and it gives me an opportunity to strategize without distraction in doing those early morning strategy sessions, I'm also saying, okay, this is what I have to do. What happens when this doesn't go the way that I expect it to go? Like what resources do I need on hand? What and by resources or assets that could be human capital, like who do I need to have with me? Or it could be like right some system or some automation, whatever it is. What do I need to have as a plan B, C, D, right? All the way down the alphabet in case something goes wrong. So, like right now, right, we're talking here. I literally have several different networks that I will connect to if something happens, 3 or 4 cameras, right, 4 microphones, right. And if necessary, I will have my AI Tracy Crump continue to speak while I type, right? So, this is the level of planning that we have to kind of think about. Is it extra? Yes, I know, I get it. But when we are in spaces and places where we need to show up and offer value because we're shifting hearts and minds and we're transforming lives, we have to be prepared for those obstacles. They will come, but don't let them take you out.
I think you just broke down something around a greater level of what it means to strive for success. And different levels require different things.
Yes.
And sometimes when you're at a different level, you may look up and judge what you don't understand.
Hmm.
But what you're teaching us right now is the stakes get so high the higher you go. You have to have more plans because there are more lives, more hearts, more minds on the hook for if something goes wrong.
Definitely. Yeah. And then also, and this may be a challenge that I continue to work through. What I have found in my experience is that when I am in certain circles, the higher I get in something like my educational aspiration. So, yes, I am still in school. I'll probably be in school forever. Yes, ma'am. So, right, when I get in certain circles, fewer and fewer people look like me. So when I have a misstep, which happens, it's notable, it's noted, it's documented, and it's publicized, right? And so as I'm trying to navigate that world, I have built this structure around myself to say, hey, if I have misstep A, press button B, right? And so we definitely have to think about that specifically when we are charting in unfamiliar territory.
That's real good, especially because folks here, many of them are trailblazers, people that are the blueprint. They've never seen what they're doing done before. And so thinking through that and building the stamina to sustain
Mm.
the exclusivity of you being there,
Mhm.
right, is something that we really have to lean into. And we have to make sure that part of our plan is having that emotional support
Mm.
available.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
I debrief all the time. I am so fortunate to have a husband who actually likes to listen to me and brainstorm and work through challenges. My children are older now. My daughter is in her early 30s. My son is in his early 20s. Don't ask me, right? Temporary insanity. But they are also phenoms in their own rights, right? And they are kind of that emotional support where I can say, hey, I had this challenge today with a certain person. And because we are on different generations, I'm able to say, hey, this person said X. I don't even understand what that is. Help me understand why the conversation went this way. So we definitely need to have emotional support, social support, but the support that I'm most proud of is the support I give myself. Like I am huge, and I said it before, I will say it until I am blue in the face. I am huge on showing yourself grace. Like we are people who are going to make mistakes, and that is okay. It, we don't have practice makes perfect. We have practice makes polished, right? And the more polished we are, right, the better we are for it. So understanding that for me has been a huge shift in my mindset to where I'm not trying to strive for perfect all the time and then falling short.
that's so good. Practice makes polished, y'all. Practice makes polished. And the other piece there, when you were thinking about this, is one of the real keys when striving towards success is having a healthy personal relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, you're not able to give yourself the grace
Mm.
that she keeps mentioning to go out there and make the mistakes to grow. The other piece with this grace is, and knowing yourself, you aren't really open to feedback
Mm-hmm.
on or other perspectives about the situation, the circumstance, when you don't have that healthy relationship with self. Um, so one of the things that has allowed me to really come to this space that I am in life is when I grew up wanting to be a lawyer since the age of 12, right? Come from a single parent household, get to college, and that last year is tough. So it's like, you're not going to law school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right. So then I always said I wanted to teach so I could wear jeans and, get out of school early. That was my thought process. Worked in charter schools my entire educational career, Dr. T, from
Mm-hmm.
7 to 4:30 and professional clothes. But what it did there was it allowed me to get accustomed to feedback
Mm.
in a way that makes it a gift
Mm-hmm.
and not an indictment on me.
Mm-hmm. And look, that student feedback, baby, can be a little rough sometimes, right? What is amazing me right now, and this is probably a digression, is like our paths are so similar. Like I wanted also to be an attorney from a very young age, but I was scared out of it. And so instead of that last year of college being rough, right? That first, I'm gonna say 2 years was really challenging. So much so that I pulled back and I didn't even take full course loads, right? I enrolled in one course at a time. It took me 10 years to complete undergrad. And that's because I couldn't break through this mindset shift that had me in a space where I thought I could only take one class and pass. I couldn't do 2 and 3 classes. So it took a very long time. And then when I finally graduated and I shared, right, so meekly, that I wanted to be an attorney, it was, oh, well, no, you probably won't make it. Law school is hard, the bar is hard. And so I said no. I said no. And instead went to grad school. I too wanted to be a teacher, loved the teacher schedule. But see, I was so rigid, I didn't even want to teach like elementary school or high school. I wanted to teach college because, right, that's 9 months out of the year, the year. And in my head, then I know better now, I was going to have 3 months to travel and like do what I want, not think about anything. That's not true, by the way. Right. And so I went through I chose a doctoral program over law school thinking it would be easier. Was I wrong? Right? They both were challenging, but I was someone who could thrive in those spaces. But because someone told me way back when, I didn't believe it. So I feel what you're saying in your journey.
Dr. T, you didn't open up a can of worms because what you just illustrated for us is the power of saying yes to you, even if it's in increments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even if it's in increments, even with a lower belief system than you have now, you believed enough to
Mm-hmm.
take it one class at a time. And as a human being, you were likely a mom by then. You're dealing with all of the conversations around you about what you should be doing and should not be doing, and even if it's worth it. And so we go from 10 years to complete undergrad. Talk to us about the degrees you have today and the number of them you have today, because people need to hear that.
So yes, so I do have my undergraduate degree in criminal justice. I wanted to be a police, well, I thought I wanted to be a police officer. But police officers have to work outside, and me and outside, right, we don't get along all the time, right? So I have my bachelor in criminal justice. My master's is also in criminal justice. My PhD is in criminology, law, and justice because I just wanted to tip my toe in the law, right? I also have a JD, right, general law studies, and then I have an LLM in family law.
Y'all, let me tell you what it is. It's okay to shift. It is okay to shift. And it is okay to go at your own pace.
Yes.
It's okay. So many times, especially now that we have social media,
Mm-hmm.
we will look at other people, we will see their path and think that it's ours. But if the Dr. Tracy G. Crump did not do it this way, she would not be able to pour at this level today. She would not have the multifaceted understanding that she has today to not only shift lives, but to continue just shifting herself, right? And then striving for success in a way that is blowing not only her mind, but her relationships around her, because again, these were the people that said you couldn't.
Yes. And it's also important for us to remember that our journeys are unique to us. And so when someone else is right telling you what your journey should be and why you should do this or should not do something, like you are the expert on you, right? Who is this person? Who is this entity? Who is this society to proclaim who you are, to conceptualize what your life should be? Like, always remember, when I say bet on you fully. You are the expert on you. This is your journey. There is no required pace, right? Take your time. Be present. Oh my goodness, in my spirit. Be present in what we do. We have one life to live, right? We are not promised tomorrow. When that time comes and I'm at the pearly gates, because look, I'm making a hard pitch to get in them pearly gates. When I'm at the pearly gates, what I am going to look over, right, as we are looking over my life, is what value I brought. Did I authentically represent me? Was I doing what I felt passionate about doing? Not whether I met up to Johnny's standards. So always, that internal reflection is so important.
It's so key. And as you were speaking, the Bible verse comes to me. I'm not no Bibleopedia, so I don't know the book and the chapter and the verse. I just know that it says, "For I know the plans I have for you."
Yes.
And so many times, if we allow others to come in and dilute the
Mm,
plans He has for us, we don't get the opportunity to really live out the plan that God has for us. And then we create more lessons in our lives than there has to be. There don't have to
yeah.
be that many lessons. I mean, you're going to go through lessons because He wants you to be who He wants you to be because of His plan.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can lessen the lessons, let's lessen the lessons, y'all.
Yes. Work smart, not hard.
So, Dr. T, any final thoughts on this topic here? Anything else you think the audience needs to hear?
Yeah. So when we think about success, know that, and you kind of opened up with this idea, know that success means different things for different people, right? My version of success may not be your version of success. Also, it's not something that is final, right? Your version of success may change depending on the goal that you're trying to achieve, the station you are in that period of your life, right? The folks that you need to consider. So constantly reevaluate what success means to you and always trust yourself and do that internal audit. Like, I do it every day. I know it may be excessive, but I'm always thinking about, when I look at that good calendar and it's full, am I really passionate about everything on this calendar? Is it meet my mission, vision, and values and the goals that I want to achieve? So, right, stay focused on kind of what it is that you want to do, the impact that you want to make, and be true to yourself.
That's so good. That's so good. I know folks are going to be rewinding this, rewatching this to make sure that they have those values in place, their mission, and that they're doing these audits that you mentioned. And I just want to encourage folks, if you're in the entrepreneurial space, if you're a speaker, if you're an expert, you definitely want to connect with me so that I can help you do some of your external audits to make sure that your business, your brand, and your profits are protected through contracts, copyrights, and trademarks. It has been a pleasure, pleasure, pleasure serving you all today. It has been a pleasure gleaning from Dr. T on all the things as it relates to us striving towards success. And if I could leave you with one final thought, and it's from Dr. T, it ain't even from me, you know? I'm leaving you with two. I'm leaving you with two from Dr. T. One, you are the expert on you. The other is, don't let anybody scare you out of becoming you.
Mm,
You said
mm.
it,
I
not me.
said that. I said it. I meant it.
Be more, journey to more, and grow more. I hope to see you more. Take care, everyone.